She was a single mother in America, waking up every day with fear in her chest, not knowing how she would pay rent, feed her child, or survive another week. She cried silently so her daughter would not see her weakness. People told her she would never make it because she was alone, broke, and tired. But one decision one night changed everything. This is not just a story. This is the real journey of a woman who went from surviving to winning. Stay till the end, because this story might change how you see your own life. Emily Carter was 26 years old when her life fell apart in a small town in Ohio. She was not born poor, and she was not lazy. She was once a normal, happy girl with dreams of a stable family, a small house, and peaceful mornings. But life does not always follow plans. Her husband left her when her daughter Lily was only 8 months old. He walked away without warning, without money, and without responsibility, leaving Emily alone with a baby and a heart full of questions. The silence in the house after he left was louder than any argument she had ever heard. Emily tried to stay strong for Lily, but nights were the hardest. She would sit on the floor holding her baby, wondering how everything went wrong. She had no college degree, only a high school education, and a few part-time job experiences. She applied for help and received food stamps and temporary assistance, but it was never enough. The rent was due every month and prices kept rising. She worked as a cashier during the day and cleaned offices at night, leaving Lily with a neighbor she barely trusted. Her body was tired, but her mind was even more exhausted. There were days when Emily skipped meals so Lily could eat. She smiled in front of people, but cried alone in the bathroom. She felt invisible in a country full of opportunities, but none seemed to reach her. People around her judged her without knowing her story. Some blamed her for being a single mom. Some told her to remarry. Some said this was her fate. Emily started believing those words, and slowly her confidence disappeared. One winter morning, her car broke down on the way to work. She stood on the roadside holding Lily, wrapped in a thin blanket, snow falling around them. She missed her shift and was fired that same day. When she reached home, she found an eviction notice on the door. That night, Emily hit rock bottom. She held Lily and whispered sorry again and again. She felt like she had failed as a mother. But something unexpected happened that night. As Lily slept, Emily opened her old laptop and started writing. She wrote about her pain, her fears, her daily struggles, not for money, not for fame, just to release the weight on her heart. Writing became her escape. She posted one short story online anonymously about being a single mother in America with nothing but hope. She did not expect anyone to read it. The next morning, she woke up to hundreds of messages. People were commenting, sharing, and thanking her for telling their story. 2 other single moms said they felt understood for the first time. Emily cried, not from pain, but from connection. That moment planted a small seed inside her, a seed of belief. For the first time in months, Emily felt seen. She realized her voice had power. Even though she had nothing, she still had her story, and that story was real, honest, and raw. She promised herself that no matter how hard life became, she would not give up, because Lily deserved a mother who fought back. After that first post, Emily continued writing every night. After putting Lily to sleep, she shared her journey as a single mom in America, the struggles with bills, the judgment from society, the fear of the future. Her words were simple, but real. People trusted her because she never pretended to be perfect. Slowly, her online audience grew. A woman from California messaged her and suggested starting a blog. Another single mother told her about content platforms that paid writers. Emily had never imagined earning money from writing, but desperation pushed her to try. She created a free blog using public library computers. Because she had no internet at home, she learned everything from YouTube, watching videos late at night while Lily slept on her chest. Money was still tight. She faced days without electricity and nights without heat. She sold her wedding ring to buy groceries. She walked miles when she could not afford gas, but she did not stop writing. Each post was a piece of her soul. Each sentence carried pain and strength together. After months of struggle, she earned her first online payment, $120. It was not much, but to Emily it felt like a miracle. She framed the email confirmation and stuck it on her wall. It was proof that change was possible. She used that money to pay part of her rent and buy Lily new shoes. Emily started waking up earlier and sleeping less. She treated her blog like a full-time job. She learned about social media, marketing, storytelling, and audience building. She replied to every comment and messaged. Her honesty created a loyal community. Brands started noticing her story not because she was famous, but because she was real. One day, she received an email from a small media company asking her to write regularly. It was a paid opportunity with steady income. Emily screamed with joy, but quickly covered her mouth so Lily would not wake up that night. She danced alone in the kitchen with tears in her eyes. Life did not become perfect overnight. She still struggled with time, money, and exhaustion, but now she had hope with direction. She moved to a smaller apartment closer to work. She enrolled in online courses to improve her writing. She stopped seeing herself as a victim and started seeing herself as a fighter. Emily taught Lily the value of effort, not comfort. She showed her that dreams are built during hard times, not easy ones. Every obstacle became fuel instead of fear. She was still a single mom in America, still tired, still imperfect, but she was no longer powerless. She was becoming unstoppable. Emily Carter did not realize it at the time, but the third year of her struggle was the most important turning point of her life. By then, Lily was 4 years old, curious, energetic, and always asking questions. Emily worked from home, writing articles, blogs, and personal stories while also taking care of her daughter. Her income was still unstable. Some months were good, others terrifying. She learned that success is not a straight line, it is a constant test of patience. One night, Emily received an email that shook her hands as she read it. A large digital media platform wanted to feature her story, not just an article, but a full documentary-style written series about single mothers in America. They wanted her real name, her face, her truth. Emily panicked. Fear rushed into her heart. What if people judged her? What if her ex-husband appeared? What if this destroyed everything she built? She spent hours staring at the screen. Then she looked at Lily sleeping peacefully beside her. Emily understood that hiding had never protected her. Telling the truth had. She replied yes. The article went live on a Monday morning. By evening, it was everywhere. Social media exploded. Thousands of shares, comments, messages flooded in. People from all over America connected with her journey. Television shows, podcasts, and online platforms started reaching out. Emily went from writing in silence to being heard by millions. But fame brought new pressure. Some people admired her, others criticized her harshly. They questioned her choices, her parenting, her past. Emily felt the old pain return. She doubted herself again. For a moment, she considered disappearing from the internet completely. Then something powerful happened. Lily came to her holding a drawing. It showed two stick figures holding hands. One was taller, labeled Mom, the other smaller, labeled Me. At the bottom, Lily wrote, "You are strong." Emily broke down crying. She realized that strength is not about being liked, it is about standing firm in your truth. Emily decided to speak louder. She used her platform to talk openly about poverty, single motherhood, mental health, and resilience. She stopped trying to please everyone and started serving those who needed her voice. A major publishing company contacted her with an offer to write a book. Her story, not edited, not polished, but raw and honest. The advance money alone was more than she had earned in the past 2 years combined. Emily paid off her debts, fixed her car, and for the first time bought Lily toys without checking prices. The book launch changed everything. It became a bestseller among motivational and real-life categories. Emily was invited to speak at conferences, universities, and women's support programs. She stood on stages, once unimaginable, telling her story with confidence. She was no longer ashamed of her past. She owned it. Emily hired a babysitter and later a full-time nanny. She created a routine that allowed her to work without burning out. She moved into a better home with sunlight in every room. Lily finally had her own bedroom with colorful walls. But Emily never forgot where she came from. She donated part of her earnings to shelters for single mothers. She created free online resources for women trying to escape poverty. She answered messages from strangers who reminded her of herself years ago. Her biggest breakthrough was not money or fame, it was peace. For the first time in her life, Emily slept without fear. She woke up excited instead of anxious. She laughed more, hugged Lily tighter, and smiled genuinely. She understood that her struggle was not a punishment, it was preparation. Every sleepless night, every tear, every failure had shaped her into the woman she became. Emily Carter was still a single mom in America, but now she was also a writer, speaker, leader, and inspiration, and her journey was far from over. Emily Carter believed that once success arrived, life would finally become easy, but she quickly learned that growth brings a different kind of challenge. Her days were now filled with meetings, interviews, writing deadlines, and speaking events she was grateful but overwhelmed at. The same time, Lily was growing older and needed her mother in new ways. Emily felt torn between building a future and being present in the moment. There were mornings when Emily sat in her car outside Lily's school, holding the steering wheel, breathing deeply before going inside. She reminded herself why she started this journey in the first place: not for fame, not for money, but for freedom and stability. She promised herself that success would never cost her motherhood. She began restructuring her life. She declined opportunities that did not align with her values, even if they paid well. She learned to say no without guilt, something she had never been able to do before. She hired a small team to help manage her work and focused on projects that truly mattered. Her confidence grew not from applause, but from clarity. Emily started a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting single mothers in low-income communities. She used her platform to raise funds and awareness. She visited shelters and community centers, sitting on the floor with women who reminded her of her past. She listened more than she spoke. She understood that sometimes hope begins with being heard. One evening after a long event, Emily returned home exhausted. Lily ran into her arms and asked a simple question: "Mommy, are we safe now?" Emily paused. She realized that safety was no longer just about money or housing. It was about emotional security, trust, and presence. She hugged Lily tightly and said yes. The word safe stayed with her. She reflected on how far they had come from eviction notices and empty refrigerators to a home filled with warmth, laughter, and love. She understood that success had given her options, not perfection. Emily faced another test when her ex-husband reached out after years of silence. He had seen her success and wanted to reconnect. The message reopened old wounds. Emily spent nights thinking about the past, anger, regret, and unanswered questions. She sought therapy, something she once could not afford, and learned that healing is a choice, not an event. She decided to respond with boundaries, not bitterness. She forgave without forgetting and protected the life she built. The weight she carried for years finally lifted. As her influence grew, Emily was invited to speak at a national women leadership summit. Standing backstage, she remembered the night she cried holding Lily, apologizing for a life she could not provide. She smiled, realizing how unpredictable the journey had been. On stage, Emily spoke slowly, honestly. She did not glorify struggle or success. She spoke about resilience, discipline, and self-belief. She told the audience that motivation fades, but purpose remains. Her words were met with silence and tears, followed by a standing ovation. After the event, a young woman approached her crying. She was a single mother working 2 jobs, barely surviving. She said Emily's story gave her strength. Emily hugged her and whispered, "You are stronger than you know." That moment reminded Emily that her mission was bigger than her own life. Her story had become a bridge for others to cross from despair to possibility. At home, Lily watched her mother work with admiration. She began saying, "I want to be brave like you." Emily knew that legacy is not wealth or fame, but the values passed on. Emily created traditions with Lily: weekly movie nights, morning walks, gratitude journals. They celebrated small victories and talked openly about feelings. Emily wanted Lily to grow up knowing that vulnerability is strength. As years passed, Emily's income stabilized, her investments grew. She planned for Lily's education and future. She bought a modest house with a backyard where Lily played freely. Emily planted a tree there as a symbol of growth, roots, and resilience. But she never stopped working on herself. She read, learned, rested, and reflected. She understood that success is not a destination, but a responsibility. Emily Carter no longer chased approval. She walked with purpose. She had turned survival into service, pain into power, and fear into faith. Her journey was proof that even when life breaks you, it can also build you stronger. Emily Carter stood in the quiet of her home one early morning, watching sunlight fall through the window. Lily was still asleep, her laughter, dreams hidden behind peaceful breaths. Moments like this once felt impossible years ago. Mornings meant panic, unpaid bills, and fear. Now they meant gratitude, reflection, and calm. Emily placed her hand on her chest and felt something she had never known before: peace. Life had not become perfect. She still faced stress, deadlines, and responsibility, but the fear that once controlled her was gone. She trusted herself now. She trusted that no matter what happened, she could handle it. That belief was her greatest success. Emily often thought about the woman she used to be, the scared single mother crying on the floor, apologizing to her baby. She no longer judged that version of herself. She honored her. She understood that strength is not loud or proud, it is quiet and persistent. It shows up even when no one is watching. One afternoon, Lily asked Mommy, "Why do people listen to you?" Emily smiled and answered, "Because I tell the truth." She explained that stories connect hearts and honesty builds bridges. Lily nodded seriously as if she understood something important. Emily's book continued reaching women across America. Letters arrived daily from mothers who escaped abuse, poverty, and hopelessness because they saw themselves in her journey. Each letter reminded Emily that pain shared becomes lighter and hope shared multiplies. She expanded her nonprofit nationally, providing mentorship, education, and emergency support for single mothers. She hired women who once stood where she had stood, giving them not just jobs, but dignity. She watched them grow and succeed, knowing the cycle was breaking. On Lily's 10th birthday, Emily threw a small party in their backyard. Friends, laughter, music, and warmth filled the space. That night, after everyone left, Lily hugged her mother and whispered, "Thank you for never giving up." Emily closed her eyes, holding back tears, realizing that every sacrifice had been worth it. Emily did not measure success by money or recognition anymore. She measured it by freedom, choice, and impact. She had turned her wounds into wisdom and her struggle into strength. Years later, when Lily stood on her own path, Emily knew that her greatest achievement was not a best-selling book or a powerful platform. It was raising a daughter who believed in herself, who understood resilience, who knew that even in the darkest moments, light can be created. Emily Carter's journey proved that being a single mom in America does not define your limits. It reveals your power. When everything is taken from you except your will, you discover who you truly are. This story is not about luck, it is about courage, consistency, and choice. If Emily could rise from nothing with fear in her heart and love in her hands, then anyone listening can too. Because your past does not decide your future. Your decisions do.